My most humble pranams at the lotus feet of our sweet Lord Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Sai Ram to all. In the year 1971, after the college was opened in Anandapur, as I told you before, Swami used to come very frequently to visit us and stay for a few days, maybe 1 or 2 days. One time, Swami had come and he was staying with us. The college building, as I described earlier, is a circular building with all the classrooms in a circular, and in the center of this building was sands, very soft white sands put in there. And this is where we used to have our morning and evening assemblies. The assemblies would be over and then we would disperse to the classrooms. When Swami came to Anandapur, sometimes Swami in the evenings would conduct bhajans on these sands. So this evening, as usual, Swami said we would have bhajans from 6 o'clock, and we had cleaned up the sands and we had put a decorated chair for Swami. And when Swami came down and sat on the chair, the girls started bhajan. We all sat on the sand in front of Swami facing him. At that time, I had a small album. In those days, you remember the albums used to have some kind of a thick gray paper with almost transparent sheets covering each page. And these gray sheets would have little slants cut on them through which you could insert the four corners of the picture. So I had filled up this album with very beautiful small black and white pictures of Swami, and I wanted Swami to sign this album. Since his signature would not show on the grey paper, I had stuck a white piece of paper on the inside front page so that whatever Swami wrote on it would be visible. So after the bhajans and the arati was over, Swami suddenly said, I'm coming to the hostel for dinner with my girls. Everybody was excited, and the girls and the madams all took off to make the arrangement for Swami's dinner. I was standing to the side and I had this album in my hand. And when Swami was going up the stairs to his room, I stretched out the album for him to sign. He looked at it and he tapped it and he said, later, he said, and he walked up to his room. So slowly I went to the hostel. The dining room was all abuzz with all kinds of activities. A beautiful table all decorated with a nice tablecloth and flowers and everything was placed in the center of the dining hall. This dining hall was in the middle. To one side of it was the door going into the kitchen, and the girls were seated in a rectangular shape all around the dining hall. So next to Swami there was place to his right only, where the girls were already seated when I entered the dining hall. The girl who had the place right next to Swami's table was my friend Suhasini. She was not a devotee. She had just come to Anandapur College to study. So when she saw me slowly come in late after all the girls were seated, she called me and she said, Jayashree, you would like to sit next to Swami, isn't it? You sit down here. I will go and sit somewhere. And she very sweetly got up and gave me the place right next to Swami. In a few minutes, Swami came and took his place, and the madams and some of the privileged girls started to serve Swami food, and Swami asked them to go around and serve all the girls. There were many delicious items as usual, and we were all served food. Swami, as you all know, eats very little. He just ate a little bit and quickly he washed his hands. I was sitting to his right and he called one girl and said, serve her some more food. And then Swami went around the dining hall talking to the girls, blessing some and making a few comments as he walked around the big dining room. I quickly, as soon as Swami got up from his chair and started to move around, I quickly washed my hands in my plate and I had my album ready in my hands. So when Swami came around and when he came close to me, I stretched out the album for him and Swami very beautifully took it, put it on his arm and took my pen, and on the white sheet he started writing something on it. He took quite a little bit, time to write on it, and later he smiled and he closed the album and tapped it on my head and gave it to me. I was so happy that he signed it, and when I opened that album, on the first white sheet that I had stuck, Swami had written, "Be good, do good, and see good. This is the way to God, with blessings, Baba." And he had put the date 21/1/1972. I have this precious signed memento even to this day, saved in my puja room. This was one incident. Another time, Swami had come, and we girls were all assembled in the library that day after morning prayers. And Swami was seated to one side in the library, on the librarian's chair actually. And suddenly he asked the madams, Swami had also brought a few guests with him, and suddenly he asked, "Is there any girls that can give talks?" And one of my madams turned around and she pointed to me and said, "Yes, Swami, Jayashree can speak." And of course, I had to get up and go to the front of the stage. And I went near Swami to touch his feet. And I asked him, "Swami, what should I speak about?" And he said very nicely, "Speak about United Nations and world peace." This was a topic that I knew very well. When I studied in my school in Kerala, we used to have this United Nations tests conducted very often. We were given quiz about WHO and UNICEF and all the various organizations of the United Nations. So I used to write this test, and I had won many prizes on it. So this was a topic very familiar to me. So without any fear, I stood and spoke about the United Nations and the various functions and how it was serving all the countries in the world. After the speech, everybody clapped, and Swami was also clapping, and so I went near and I bent down to take Parnamaskar, and Swami was smiling and he said, "You speak very well. One day I will send you around the world to speak about me." This was in 1971, and true to his words, in 1996, 25 years later, I went to America to visit my friends, and the first thing that I did was to speak about Swami. More of this to be explained later on. Sai Ram, please share my stories with your devotee friends. Thank you so much. Swami bless you all.